Hi, I'm Bonnie Wright, and we're on FrConventions, and I'm sorry that I've lost my voice. I wouldn't say a lot to my younger self because I think the unknown of what was to come in the movies was what made it kind of really special. And I think when you're young, you're really good at sort of being in the moment and just not overthinking things. But if I knew like the scale of Harry Potter and how it would become, I think I would have made myself more nervous. But I think the only advice I would just be to relax and like trust the process and trust my interpretation of the character. Yeah, it was a really exciting day. It was the only scene I was in the first film is platform 9 3/4 at King's Cross Station. And I think I was just hardly acting because I think I was stunned myself. And Ginny's obviously meant to be a very like shy younger sister at that point. So I feel like I was just being my shy young self. But I really appreciate Julie Walters, who played Molly Weasley. I think really saw that I needed a bit of guidance, and she really like took me under her wing and kind of just made me feel really safe and like in this lovely little Weasley family that then became such a special part of the series for me. Yeah, the Chamber of Secrets like a massive, massive step up for me. From being in one scene to then suddenly being in quite a dark part of the narrative was quite fun, actually. I think at the time I was really like down for the development, and even though it was kind of this big thing, I really loved it because there were a lot of scenes that I did sometimes that were like just on my own, and so it was kind of easier to focus maybe. And I like the Chamber of Secrets set is like one of my favorite sets. It's such a cool place. And I love working with Christian too, and it's nice to be here this weekend with him. So yeah, I loved it. I suddenly felt like I was really part of the biggest story in that film. Yeah, I loved all of the Weasley scenes that we got to do in the Burrows, or like the Triwizard tournament. Not the Triwizard tournament, the Quidditch World Cup, and just any moment that I got to spend like just more intimately doing scenes with the Weasleys and Dan was always fun because I feel like we got to kind of like show our like full colors and our everything that everyone loves the Weasleys for. And I felt like not only did I have my like Hogwarts family, I had my Weasley one too. And yeah, there was just like we like just slipped into like our stereotypical roles of like the older brother and the younger sister of me. And that's always stayed with me. Yeah, I think in the fifth story, she's suddenly not like the younger sister anymore, and she's more of a kind of, she's sort of alongside the others and a bit more of like their contemporary. She's not like, oh, the Ginny, the shy younger sister. She kind of steps into her own, and so do a lot of characters, I think, through Dumbledore's army. They kind of find their voice and their reason to stand up for something and to have purpose. And I think she loves that, and I think it kind of like happens at the same time as her like getting into Quidditch as well. So I think she finds this kind of like inner strength that you don't really expect, and then you see it, but then it kind of really, I think, comes out as the films progress. Yeah, I remember when I like obviously the books were coming out when we were making movies, so we didn't really know like the fate of our character. So I remember when I read that, if that would be the fate of, Ginny and Harry ending up together, I was like excited, but then simultaneously like really nervous because it was such a big role. It was such a massive character development through the series for Ginny. And obviously it's like the hero that everyone loves. So being that character that is playing alongside that was kind of daunting. But I loved that I could do it with someone that I'd been already like familiar with and working with for that many years. So it was definitely scary. And it still feels that way in a way. Yeah, I think obviously for Harry, when he sees Ginny and Dean together, it kind of makes him like realize these feelings that he has for Ginny that maybe he didn't like fully understand. And I think it's a great sort of turning point, and it's kind of fun. We've all sort of experienced that when suddenly someone that we like is with someone else and we're like, hey, wait a minute. So it would have been fun to have more of those scenes. And I just think generally, like, it would have been fun to see more of those like nuanced little moments of like the characters kind of falling in love or like getting into each other, just to kind of build up the tension. Yeah, I mean, so David Yates directed the last few films, and like a word we always kind of associated with her was kind of like warrior because of the Dumbledore's army stuff, and then knowing that that's where she's going to kind of get to in the Battle of Hogwarts and be like a key kind of player. I kind of kept that idea of, you know, she's very loyal. I think like warrior, like she really is like gonna stand up for Harry and the fight, you know, for him, and obviously that is something that he probably loves about her, that she's loyal. So yeah, it kind of, I think, totally makes sense, like the evolution of her character and how she steps into her own. But it was always, you know, with all the stories, we were kind of like finding them as they were written. Yeah, I mean, it's a massive, massive loss in the Weasley family. So it would have been good to kind of let that sink in, really. And I think also for Harry, I think a lot of his story is obviously the kind of the heaviness and guilt that he feels towards like anyone that dies, you know, for the battle that he has between Lord Voldemort. And I think particularly then to be like a family member of the Weasleys, that's like even more intense for him. So I feel like, there were so many deaths that happened sadly in the last story. So to give more space to all of them, really, to realize like what had to be lost in order to gain, you know, that win, so to speak, at the end. But it definitely would have been a very heavy scene to film. Maybe too real. Yeah, it was very surreal doing the epilogue scene because, yeah, it was back on the same set that I started, and I was looking down at these kids who were playing these characters who, you know, they were the same age as I was. So it was quite a like surreal full circle moment, and to be like aged as well. I was only like 19 and I was playing like a, you know, late 30s person, so it was quite like scary too. Like, wow, okay, this is where I'm headed. But it was fun, and it was a great moment to end on. Yeah, I guess. I think generally a lot of people would have liked like more Quidditch maybe in the films, especially as they went on, kind of got a bit less. And I remember like when I read that in the book that, you know, they like let you know like a few of the characters and what they end up being. I just like wasn't expecting that, but it kind of like totally makes sense. But I always like have such like visions or imaginations of like what their family life would be with like a professional Quidditch player. So I think it's fun and unexpected. Yeah, I think so much of Ginny in the book, as so many characters too. Just that life at Hogwarts. I just hope that they just expand on that, really. I think everyone loves Hogwarts and everyone loves feeling that they could be there or feel like they're there. So I'd love to see more of that Hogwarts life.